dragon was saying her name, and he was sending her a feeling, as if he were standing with her, as if he'd taken her.
For those who love love, thrift books.
Brigan was saying her name, and he was sending her a feeling, as if he were standing with her, as if he'd taken her
For
with
those who
him.
love thrift books.
hello there, and welcome to the 2021 King County Library System Foundation Literary Lions Gala. I'm Angela Poe Russell from King 5, and I am honored to be your host this evening. You know, my first job, I was in elementary school, and it was working in a library. I got paid a quarter, and it was my favorite thing to do all week. It was my happy place, and it was my safe space. The truly wonderful thing about our King County libraries is that they are here to serve everybody, regardless of one's age, gender, race, religion, or income. They provide free and open access to information and ideas. They stand to both inspire us to dream bigger and empower us to achieve more. And that is why tonight's Literary Lions Gala is so important. Together, we will celebrate libraries with inspiring authors, philanthropists, and local leaders. And tonight, we are going to raise funds that will enable our libraries to inspire and empower more people. It promises to be a great evening, and we are so glad that you are with us. Now look, before we begin, I want to acknowledge that we are on the ancestral homelands of all tribes and bands of the Coast Salish peoples, including unceded territories. We honor with gratitude the land itself and thank the original caretakers, both past and present. The land acknowledgement is a custom dating back centuries for many Native communities and nations. For non-Indigenous communities, individuals, and institutions, this land acknowledgement is a call to learn more about and to show respect to the Indigenous people of the land on which we work and live. Now, here in the studio in Seattle, I am actually on the land of the Duwamish people. We are going to put a link in the chat now that you can actually use to find what Indigenous land you are on tonight, and just let us know what you find out in the chat. Well, now for some housekeeping before we get started. We want to invite you to join us in the chat. Some of you are already doing that, and we love reading your comments. It's the place to be tonight, okay? Because here's what's going to happen. We're going to be playing this fun book-related game later in the show, and you're going to need to be in that chat to participate. Some of the prizes include a Modernist Cuisine book package and a pair of Alaska Airlines tickets. Now, all you need to join is a free YouTube account called The Channel. Click sign in the top right corner, and then follow the instructions to create your channel and join the chat. And make sure you find the emojis for extra fun with this. Click the gray smiley face right below the chat box to expand the emoji panel. And then once you find the emojis, let us know what you're eating or drinking tonight using an emoji in the chat. And let's see, I'm already seeing Beatrice saying hello to her friends in Bothell. Suzanne is saying thanks for the land acknowledgement. So yes, we love seeing your comments, and Shannon, I see you there as well. Now look, if you need help at any point tonight, it's totally okay. If it's having to do with donating or using YouTube, we do have volunteers to help. All you have to do is send an email. The email address is info@kclsfoundation.org. That's info@kclsfoundation.org, and someone will reply and assist you. Okay, now that you've found your emojis, we're hoping that you can use the applause emoji, because we hope to do that a lot tonight, starting now, because we want to thank some sponsors. Without them, this could not happen. And to do that, I want to introduce Ken Riles, Executive Director of the King County Library System Foundation. Now, Ken joined the foundation last year after many years at Microsoft. So welcome, Ken.
Thank you, Angela. It's great to be here with you this evening. Tonight's program simply would not be possible without the support of our generous sponsors. We are so incredibly grateful for the contributions of the following organizations. First, our bestseller sponsors, B3 Wealth Strategies, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, Color Creative, who created the beautiful Literary Lions Gala logo, and Pivotal Ventures. Here are our wonderful starred review sponsors who make our library programs possible. Thank you so much. We'd love to see that applause in the chat, so if you're out there, please use the emojis to thank our sponsors as well. And I want to say thank you to our book club sponsors here on the screen. We are so appreciative of all of your support. I can see here in the chat that our sponsors are getting plenty of love. Let's keep that applause going for our sponsors. And I'll put it back to you, Angela.
All right, thank you, Ken. Okay, so just one final point of housekeeping. Later this evening, we're going to be asking for your support for our beloved King County libraries. You can prepare for this by going to llg2021 to register your credit card. And don't forget, we have volunteers available to help if you need any assistance registering. Now, when you go to that link in the chat, you'll also see that the 2021 Author Salon Series has launched and tickets are available. If you're wondering what this is all about, author salons are these exclusive experiences for you to share food, wine, and conversation with a renowned Northwest author. The 2021 Author Salon Series will be virtual, and attendees will receive a catered meal from a local restaurant and a copy of the author's book. Now, the series starts on May 8th with America's librarian Nancy Pearl and Emily Calkins, KCLS Readers Services Coordinator. On June 5th, you can join David Schmader and Bruce Barcott for an insightful look at the subject that they know best, marijuana. The third event in the series features cookbook author and blogger Shauna Ahern in conversation with the Seattle Times' Nancy Leeson. That's June 19th. The series ends on June 30th with 2021 Literary Lions Cisco Morris in conversation with Jesse Bloom. Tickets are available now, but they are limited, so we're putting a ticket link in the chat now. I know we're keeping you really busy in the chat, and now you're going to use it again, as promised. So to get our literary juices flowing, if you will, we're going to play this game called Guess the Book. You will type your answers in the chat. So here's how it's going to work. We're going to show you a series of emojis across your screen, and it's going to look like, beautiful graphics, but emojis, okay? They're going to represent one of our Literary Lions books. We will choose a winner from the chat, so get your answer in quickly. So again, we're showing the emojis, and you guess the book. You type it in the chat. And of course, as I mentioned, there are prizes. This time, it's a beautiful copy of Modernist Cuisine at Home by Nathan Myhrvold and Maxime Belay, generously donated by our sponsor, Modernist Cuisine. So get ready. I'm going to throw up those emojis. Guess the book in the chat. This is an easy one. So again, we're looking for the book title that is represented by these emojis. So who has the answer? It's train tracks, a down arrow, and a locomotive. All right, I'm looking to see who can guess the book. Okay, they're working on it. We have the train track, the locomotive, and again, it's one of the books that's one of our Literary Lions. Okay, wait for it. I'm going to do a dance in a minute. The down arrow, a train track, and a locomotive. Which book is this? Can someone guess it? Yep. Okay, I'm going to have someone, looks like I think we might have a winner, so I'm going to keep going. Here's the good news. If you didn't win this time, don't worry about it, because we're going to collect 3 runners-up. How you say that? We're going to do this every round to be entered to win a grand prize at the end of the evening. So again, if you didn't win this, the top 3 in the runners-up, we're going to collect those names and save it for an opportunity to win 2 round-trip tickets on Alaska Airlines. So we'll play more of these games a little bit later in the show. But first, it is my great pleasure to introduce the stars of our evening, the 2021 Literary Lions. These authors were nominated and chosen by our expert committee, including library staff, volunteers, and community leaders. This group is comprised of 31 critically acclaimed authors from near and far that write across a broad range of genres, from creating New York Times bestsellers to providing important new perspectives on our world. Each was selected based on their strong contributions to the literary field. Before I introduce them, you can buy the signed copies of all of our Literary Lions books through the Third Place Books website. All you have to do is click the link in the chat, and a portion of your purchase will benefit the KCLS Foundation. So thank you so much to Third Place Books. And authors, I know that many of you are with us in the chat right now. We are surrounded by greatness, if you will. So when I introduce you, please jump in and say hi so we can chat with you or give you an applause emoji, okay? And guests, if you've always wanted to rub elbows, virtually of course, with one of these amazing writers, tonight is your chance to do that. So please just hop in the chat and let's do this. And now for our 2021 Literary Lions. We don't have a drummer, so it's just us. Representing our children's and young adult authors, we have Kwame Alexander, the author of Becoming Ali, and is currently the innovator in residence at the American School of London. We'll have the pleasure of hearing from Kwame later this evening, but thank you for staying up late with us, Kwame. Donna Barba Higuera is the author of Lupe Wong Won't Dance. She grew up in a tiny town in California. One of her favorite hobbies was calling the library's dial-a-story line over and over. Kiko Hughes is the debut author of the graphic novel Displacement, which tells the story of her family's experiences in Japanese-American incarceration camps. Nina LaCour is the award-winning author of Watch Over Me, who loves cooking, gardening, and day tripping through Northern California with her wife and daughter. Lily Lamott, the debut author of Measuring Up. Lily is passionate about supporting libraries and is a KCLS Foundation board member. Matt De La Pina is the best-selling author of 7 young adult novels and 5 picture books, including the adorable Milo Imagines the World. Matali Perkins' latest book, Home is in Between, was inspired by her childhood, spent moving all over the world before her family settled in California just in time for middle school. Our last children's and young adult author tonight is Aiden Thomas, the author of Cemetery Boys. Aiden's special talents include quoting The Office and organizing their bookshelves by color. Now, children's and young adult authors inspire creativity in young readers, sparking a lifelong joy of reading. With that in mind, we'd like to share a video made by a creative local kid who won the KCLS Reel Fest competition last year, a program funded by the foundation. Enjoy.
The day I discovered The Diary of a Wimpy Kid, I was hooked. I found out the book was a part of a series. I wanted to read them all, so I begged my mom to take me to the library. I pulled the last straw. Lucky me, got the last one on the shelf. It's gonna be a good day. Next time, it was a hard luck for me. It took driving to 3 different libraries to get the book. You can be lucky so many times, but eventually I had to face the ugly truth. Most of the books are on hold, 53 holds on 10 copies. It's gonna be a long haul until the next book arrives. It really taught me to be patient, to start thinking. These books inspired me to start doodling. And then the long-awaited summer break. Some trips to the library are just better on wheels and with friends. After reading some of the books, I felt like I gained the experience in certain things, even though I never really experienced any of it. Such as what it's like to have a dog, or the time our family went on the getaway. I was chill and prepared for everything that the arduous journey across the world would bring me. And then the meltdown. So far from home, I was forced to practice my foreign language reading skills because I forgot to bring my favorite books. That won't happen again. Some may think that libraries are old school, but no screen can compare to the feeling of holding a book. No audiobook can give you that visual experience. And when you pick up that one book and you get totally immersed in it, you forget the whole world. The book becomes your world, and that world was brought to me by the library.
Isn't he great? Oh, I just love that. Well said and well illustrated. Now I'm going to invite Ken to come back up to share more of our wonderful authors this evening. Ken.
Thank you, Angela. Here are our 2021 Literary Lion fiction authors. Mike Chen, author of We Could Be Heroes, is a self-identified geek who has published Star Wars short fiction and covers geek culture for sites such as StarTrek.com. Naima Coaster's most recent book is What's Mine and Yours. In 2020, she received the National Book Foundation's 5 Under 35 honor. Congratulations, Naima. Robert Dugoni's books have been translated into dozens of languages and have been published in more than 25 countries. His newest book is The Last Agent. A.J. Hackwith is the author of Hell's Library fantasy series. A.J. writes from the woods of Washington State, where she hermits with her partner, 2 terrible orange cats, and an awful excuse for a dog. I have one of those too. Gish Jen, author of The Resistors and 4 other novels, teaches in China and lives in Cambridge, Massachusetts. Alka Joshi's first novel, The Henna Artist, has been optioned by Miramax for a TV series starring Freda Pinto. Carl Marlantes is a 2-time winner of the Washington State Book Award, including for his 2019 novel, Deep River. Matilda Bernstein Sycamore's newest book, The Freezer Door, is set almost entirely in Seattle and was described by Maggie Nelson as a book about not belonging that made me feel deeply less alone. Jess Walters is the author of 9 books, most recently, The Cold Millions. His work has been published in 32 languages. Our final fiction author is Colson Whitehead, our keynote speaker. His introduction is coming up very soon. Hey, Angela, I'll get out of your way now and let you get on with the rest of the show.
Sounds good. Thank you. All right, well, this brings us to our final group, the nonfiction authors of the evening. Erica Bauermeister, her most recent book, House Lessons, is a memoir about the renovation of a trash-filled house and how the spaces we live in impact who we are. Charles Blow, author of the highly anticipated The Devil You Know, is an op-ed columnist at the New York Times and a CNN commentator. Xiaoqing Chow is the author of Chinese Soul Food and its follow-up vegetarian edition. She serves as the chair of the James Beard Foundation's Book Awards Committee. Now, Melinda Gates is the author of The Moment of Lift, among her many accolades. We'll hear from Melinda later tonight, so I won't spoil her introduction. Congresswoman Pramila Jayapal is the first Indian American elected to the House of Representatives. Her book is Use the Power You Have. Lauren Coe is the artist and baker behind the popular Instagram account Loco Kitchen, which inspired her book Pieometry. And you may know Cisco Morris from his columns in the Seattle Times and PI, or for a show on King 5. His most recent book, Ooh La La, was released in 2020. Emma Teal Lakaitis and Claire Naton, authors of The Salmon Sisters, grew up on the Aleutian Islands of Alaska, working on their family's commercial fishing boats in the Bering Sea. Steve Olson, author of The Apocalypse Factory, is a Washington State Book Award recipient and a proud fourth-generation Washingtonian. Ijoma Oluo, author of Mediocre, The Dangerous Legacy of White Male America, was recently honored as the 2020 Harvard Humanist of the Year. Congratulations, Ijoma. Lindy West is a contributing opinion writer for the New York Times and the best-selling author of 3 books, including her most recent, Shit, Actually. Molly Weisenberg is the author of The Fixed Stars, but you may also recognize her as the co-founder of Seattle restaurants Delancey in Essex. Now, if we were in the ballroom together tonight, the authors would all be joining us on stage for their traditional group photo, but instead, they like to say hello in another way. So will you join me in recognizing our 2021 Literary Lions? And there they are. I love it. Their virtual class photo of our 2021 Literary Lions. Congratulations. And be sure to visit Third Place Books to purchase signed books from tonight's Lions. The link is in the chat. All right, you ready for another game? You're ready. Get those literary juices flowing. Guess the book. That's the name of the game. Just like last time, we're going to show you a series of emojis that represent one of our Literary Lions books. Here we go. All right, so we have, by the way, I forgot to mention the prize. This time it's a beautiful copy of the photography of Modernist Cuisine by Nathan Meervold. Thanks again to our sponsor, Modernist Cuisine, for helping us have fun with these amazing prizes tonight. Okay, so let's see who can guess. You can see this involves some math. We have some geometry. We've got the pie emoji. That's the clue. I love it here. Okay. Yep, I see people already guessing it's Pieometry by Lauren Coe. I can see some of the answers there in the chat. Someone's already, yeah, so I'll have the powers that be pick the winner. But again, even if you didn't win, your name, the top 3 behind the person who won, will be entered to win those 2 Alaska Airlines tickets. And we'll have more Guess the Book games coming up in just a few minutes. But now I would like to welcome to the stage KCLS Executive Director, Lisa Rosenblum. Lisa has been leading the King County Library System since January of 2018. Prior to KCLS, she served as Director and Chief Librarian at Brooklyn Public Library in New York City. In her spare time, Lisa enjoys hiking on the many wonderful trails in the Pacific Northwest while listening to KCLS audiobooks. Welcome, Lisa.
Thank you, Angela. And I'm such a big fan of your show and have been ever since I arrived in the Pacific Northwest 3 years ago. So good evening, everyone. I'm Lisa Rosenblum, the Executive Director of the King County Library System, and I'm so pleased to be here with you tonight as we celebrate the KCLS Foundation and the important work that they do to support our wonderful public libraries. For those of you who may not be as familiar with our library system, here here are a few interesting and also remarkable facts. KCLS has 50 libraries serving the residents of 35 cities and 2 tribes. More than 1.1 million residents of all ages have a KCLS library card, and this includes more than 560,000 students, providing access to an entire digital collection, including a wealth of educational resources. We are one of the leading library systems in the country and recently received, for the 3rd year in a row, a 5-star rating from Library Journal for overall operational and service excellence. And on top of that, 2020 proved to be a record-breaking year for online library use, with patrons checking out 7.4 million digital titles, up almost 31% from last year. All of these numbers attest that during a year of unprecedented impacts, KCLS has continued to adapt so that we can safely deliver crucial library services to all. Within a week of the shutdown last March, Ask KCLS was hard at work responding to patron questions and providing access to critical information via email, chat, and telephone. This was rapidly followed by our reinvention of our popular library programs for online audiences, including story times for children and classes for adults. Recognizing the demand for digital materials while our print collections were not accessible, KCLS also invested heavily in its digital collections, including audiobooks and streaming services. And then in June, we launched our very popular contactless curbside-to-go materials pickup services, quickly expanding to 41 library locations. And in October, KCLS's innovative spirit was in full gear with the installation of exterior pickup lockers. These lockers are available 24/7 and were generously funded by the foundation. Throughout the year, we also continued to deliver outreach programs and services to ensure that our most vulnerable communities were not left behind. These included the expansion of programs and services and resources to empower a growing number of residents facing unemployment and financial insecurity. And our mobile service vehicles brought library materials and services to seniors and those in our communities experiencing homelessness. And last, but certainly not least, in late 2020, KCLS deepened its commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion by forming a new DEI department. Their work will be focused on creating an equitable and inclusive experience for patrons of all backgrounds. And now it is my great honor to introduce one of tonight's talented literary lions, whose writing lends voice to these important conversations. Kwame Alexander is an author, poet, educator, and media personality.
Thank you, Lisa. I am so excited to be a part of this Literary Lions Gala. I wish I was there with you. I wish you were here with me. I'm in London, England. I've been here for a year and a half. I am the writer in residence at the American School in London. And it is a very special time to be an American. It's a very special time to be a world citizen. I love writing for children. I love writing poems. I believe that poetry is a great way to connect us to each other, to allow us to become more human. And so I'm gonna share a piece tonight called The Undefeated. This is for the unforgettable, the swift and sweet ones who hurdled history and opened a world of possible. The ones who survived America by any means necessary, and the ones who didn't. This is for the undeniable, the ones who scored with chains on one hand and faith in the other. This is for the unflappable, the sophisticated ones who box adversity and tackle vision, who shine their light for the world to see and don't stop till the break of dawn. This is for the unafraid, the audacious ones who carried the red, white, and weary blues on the battlefield to save an imperfect union. The righteous marching ones who sang, "We shall not be moved because Black lives matter." This is for the unspeakable. This is for the unspeakable. This is for the unspeakable. This is for the unlimited, unstoppable ones, the dreamers and the doers who swim across the big sea of our imagination and show us the majestic shores of the promised land. The Wilma Rudolphs, the Muhammad Alis, the Jesse Owenses, the LeBrons and the Jordans, the Serenas and the Cheryls, the Reese Whitleys and the undiscovered. This is for the unbelievable, the we real cool ones. This is for the unbending, the black as the night is beautiful ones. This is for the underdogs and the uncertain, the unspoken but no longer untitled. This is for the undefeated. This is for the undefeated. This is for you and you and you. This is for us. Thank you. Thank you for allowing me to be a part of this. Thank you for this honor. I am so always very thrilled to be a part of anything that recognizes librarians and libraries, temples for coolness, temples for understanding, temples of knowledge and love and hope and humanity. And with that, back to you, Lisa.
Thank you, Kwame, for such an inspiring, moving, and hopeful message. In closing, I want to thank the KCLS Foundation Board of Directors, Foundation staff, and volunteers for our first ever virtual Literary Lions Gala. And I especially want to extend a heartfelt thanks to all of you who are taking part in tonight's event. The services, programs, and impact that KCLS has had and will continue to have as we navigate the years ahead would not be possible without the generosity of donors like you. And now, to tell you more about our donor-funded programs, it is my pleasure to introduce Ken Riles, Executive Director of the King County Library System Foundation.
Thank you, Lisa, and thank you, Kwame. You're amazing. I want to begin by saying how grateful I am to each of you for attending our first ever virtual gala. And spoiler alert, there will be some fun news regarding the star who will host our 2022 gala at the end of our show tonight, so please stay tuned. Simply put, your attendance and support tonight mean everything to our foundation team, our library staff, and our communities. As you know, the needs in our community continue to grow as the pandemic has left many feeling isolated, unemployed, and struggling to learn. Fortunately, as Lisa mentioned, our library and foundation staff have adapted, innovated, and partnered to continue the vital work of serving our communities. But there is much more work for us to do. For example, it might surprise you to know this, but almost 1 in 7 households in King County do not have broadband access to the internet, primarily because they cannot afford it. In this day and age, when everything is digital, that means the students in those households cannot participate in online classes, and the adults in those households cannot access online healthcare, employment, and other essential services. To help address this gap, our foundation funded a program that loans free internet hotspots and computers so that vulnerable people are not left behind. And as we look forward, we see many more needs. With growing unemployment, we're seeing more need for programs to help those who face financial insecurity. With the duration of the pandemic uncertain, our libraries need more contactless lockers so we can safely serve more people. With online learning challenges, we're seeing a greater need for youth literacy programs. How we meet these and other needs in our community depends on donors like you. That's why I'm so grateful for your support. Next, I'd like to share a brief video on how our literacy programs are making a difference in our community. Thank you.
Being able to read at grade level by 3rd grade is really, really important. A lot of times if kids fall behind, a vast majority of them never catch up, even into adulthood. I'm Amelia Lincoln Acevedo, and I'm the children's librarian at the Vashland Library, but one of the things that I do is to run the Otter program at Chautauqua Elementary. The Otter Award is something that the Washington Library Association started 3 years ago. It stands for Our Time to Enjoy Reading. It's a Kids' Choice Award. There's lots of schools that have different languages spoken and lots of different ethnicities. There's a lot of different income levels all over the county. So it does reach a lot of schools that really do need some more materials for them to be able to participate.
The thing that I love the most about the Otter Award program is that it creates a community of readers in my room. I've been teaching young children for over 30 years, and I know that the Otter Award program is really essential for creating that sense of loving to read.
It's kind of a springboard age to learning, wow, there's a whole world of books out there for me. And it really does open up your world. It raises your vocabulary, it raises your worldview, you can learn all kinds of things. And that really is that age where they really learn that.
Having children think of themselves as readers and having them enjoy and want to read is one of the best gifts that a teacher can give a child. Amelia makes that happen.
Kids have gotten really excited about reading, which is, of course, my favorite thing, is to see kids love a book. When I contacted the teachers at the beginning of the year, I thought, I'm not sure if they're going to want to do this. It seems like a lot to add onto their plates when there's a lot going on. But when I asked them, they were all really enthusiastic and thinking the kids are spending so much time on screens that having a paper book this year and something that they could hold in their hands and read was really important.
The Otter Award program has created the idea that I am a reader and I enjoy being a reader. And I thank KCLS for creating that and providing that for us.
Such a great program, and I see so many people talking about that in the chat. It's wonderful to hear about so many kids finding their love for reading. As Lisa and Ken both mentioned, and as you saw in the video about the Otter program, your donations to the library are making a difference. And with our current pandemic situation, our library patrons need us now more than ever. To show you a little more about the importance of your support tonight, we'd like to show you a glimpse of some of our most vital services. The mobile library to people experiencing homelessness, funded by the foundation. And just a quick note, this video was filmed before COVID, so you won't see anyone wearing face masks. Take a look.
My name is Susie Gonzalez Pushner, and I am an outreach specialist for King County Library's Mobile Services Department. The Mobile Services Department has always served vulnerable populations. We serve daycare centers, seniors, and now we are extending services to people experiencing homelessness. We bring the Tech Lab, which is a large RV with 8 computer stations. They can come on, they can apply for jobs, apply for housing, check out books. We're meeting them where they're at. It's about providing resources for everyone.
The library, it's free. You get knowledge, you get resources, and there's books and great reading.
I wake up every day and I'm excited about what I do because this program is just making such a difference in people's lives. Being out in the community is the future. We're just better now because we're everywhere. We're just not one building.
There are people that have made it out. There are people that found a home and they're living with a roof over their head. And that there, Library to Go, it's a truck, but actually it's a key. And it will open a lot of doors.
I don't know about you, but that gave me chills. I love to see what KCLS and the foundation are doing for everybody in our community, especially those most in need of the services. And you'll be happy to know that Library to Go mobile services have continued throughout the pandemic with enhanced safety protocols, meaning our vulnerable neighbors are still able to access the services they need. Well, now we would like to ask for your support to fund the future of our beloved King County libraries. We're going to open up the giving thermometer now as we work towards our goal of $500,000. We're going to put a link in the chat for you to make your donation, or you can simply type in llg2021.ggo.bid and a new browser tab to do it that way. You'll see our suggested giving levels there. Actually, you should see it on the screen right now. And we're going to start with a generous gift of $10,000. You can also pick a level that you're comfortable with and just enter any amount that feels good to you. But we need your support. And I do have some really good news to get us started. If we can put the thermometer up on the screen, those of you who bought VIP tickets, look what you have done. You've already taken us to, wow, we're up to $44,000. Wow, $44,550. And then sponsors, we're going to bring the sponsor tab in. That brings us to $152,000. Yay! Thank you so much, Shoba, for your donation. Mary, Daphne, Doreen, we see you. Phyllis Ann, thank you so much. We are getting closer to our $500,000 goal, and we so need your help. You heard about the Otter program, Library to Go, and there's the stuff that they're doing day in and day out in our communities. Now, we have one very special level to highlight this evening, all thanks to two generous community partners. Thrift Books, joined by an anonymous donor, will be matching every gift tonight at the $1,000 level up to $44,000. We want to meet that challenge. So $1,000, that's it, $1,000, and matching up to $40,000. That would be 40 gifts at $1,000. So come on, jump in. The water's good. You can make a difference. You see that thermometer going up. Katie, thank you so much for your donation. Lisa jumping in at that $1,000 level. We so appreciate it. And by the way, tonight you can take home a limited edition magnum of wine from Book Walter Winery with the Literary Lions Gala bookshelf logo. Hold on, I'll actually get you a copy. One second. So you can see what this looks like, how cool this is. So this is the bottle you'll get so you can see, the scale. So this is one of those impressive things you can bring out. Again, from Book Walter Winery, it has the Literary Lions Gala bookshelf logo on there. It's so beautiful. Isn't that great? So please jump in that $1,000 level. Now, donors who make a gift of $2,500 or more are welcomed into our Leadership Giving Circle. It is a special group of library donors. If you make a gift of $2,500 or more tonight, we will reach out to you after the event about your special benefits. So Andrew, thank you so much for your donation. I can see that thermometer is rising. We're at 166,000. We have a ways to go, but we're getting there. Thank you so much. I see Judette. Let's see, Mr. Malure. I'm so sorry if I mispronounced your name. Thank you for jumping in at our $1,000 level. Kristen Allen Benston, thank you so much for your support. These donors you are seeing now committed their support for our libraries, the ones on your screen a few moments ago, ahead of the event. So be sure that we meet our goal. These are the names right here that you see on your screen. And we are including your support in our thermometer. So we're going to put that in right now. And those were the names that you were seeing across the screen. Michelle, thank you so much for your donation. We're at $170,000 now. This is our paddle raise. Now, how many people have actually used the paddle raise button? Because that's the name, those are the names we're seeing on the screen. Miss Jill, thank you so much for your donation. Michelle, I see you. And again, if you have a gift of $2,500 or above, you will be part of our Leadership Giving Circle, and we will reach out to you about all of the benefits that will come with that. Now look, if you want to donate, oh my gosh, we just got those donations in from those names that you saw across the screen earlier. We are at $360,000. We're getting so close. It's exciting. Now look, if you don't want to give right here, that's okay. There's another way you can make a pledge. You can just email us. We will totally take money that way. info@kclsfoundation.org. That's info@kclsfoundation.org. Or you can just follow the link in the chat if you just want to find out more. Thank you so much for your generous support for our libraries. The thermometer is doing really well. We're so close. We hope you can jump in and get us there. We'll check back in on our thermometer in just a few moments. But we thought it might be fun to play another game. Okay, so this is another Guess the Book, the emoji game. Hopefully you can get in and win this time. Let's do this. So the way this is going to work, again, if you remember the rules, we're going to throw up 3 emojis, and it's going to represent one of our Literary Lions books. So here come the emojis. The first person in the chat with the answer will win the prize. We're looking for the correct book title. Looks like in this case it's something frozen, but with money involved. Drop that answer in the chat. and you could be our next winner. All right, something cold. We got the bag of money. All right, I think we have a winner. The answer is The Cold Millions by Jess Walter. And guess what? The prizes keep getting bigger. This one is Modernist Bread by Nathan Myhrvold and Francisco Magoya, a 5-volume set, the most comprehensive book ever written about bread. If your pandemic hobby has been bread making, you will need this book. Now, we're still collecting those 3 runners-up every round to be entered to win our grand prize at the end of the evening, 2 round-trip tickets on Alaska Airlines. So we'll have one more game for you to try your luck. Okay. It is my distinct pleasure to introduce a very special person, someone with a remarkable impact on our Seattle community and the world. Melinda French Gates is a philanthropist, businesswoman, and global advocate for women and girls. As the co-chair of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, Melinda sets the direction and the priorities of the world's largest philanthropy. She is also the founder of Pivotal Ventures, an investment and incubation company working to drive social progress for women and families in the United States. And she's also the author of the best-selling book, The Moment of Lift. Here's Melinda.
Good evening. Thank you so much for the chance to be part of this celebration. As a proud resident of King County, I can say with conviction, and maybe a little bias, that our public libraries are some of the best in the nation. You've heard about the ways KCLS has risen to meet the pandemic, expanding ebook offerings, introducing curbside pickup, lending out laptops and internet hotspots so students and educators can keep on learning and teaching. None of it's been surprising, but all of it's been essential. In the past year, our lives have changed dramatically. The pandemic has left us feeling disconnected or at risk, and deep political divisions have left us feeling raw or in danger. Reading can be such a powerful way to recharge and reconnect. Even in a world of social distancing, reading can deepen our understanding of other people's lives and experiences. Where does reading get these special powers? From special authors like our keynote speaker, Colson Whitehead. Colson has been called America's storyteller, and much like America, his stories are vibrant and unique. He has written a book about elevators, a book about zombies, and a memoir about high-stakes poker. And as you may have heard, he's won the Pulitzer Prizes for both the Underground Railroad and the Nickel Boys. You can say a lot about what makes Colson's work so compelling and important, but maybe he says it best himself. One of the characters in the Nickel Boys is a high school history teacher named Mr. Hill. Mr. Hill has a special talent for mining lessons about the past for insights about the present. We're told that his lessons would, quote, set off down one road at the beginning of class, and it always led back to their doorsteps. That's a pretty good description of what it's like to read Colson's novels too, and the reason why they not only entertain, but illuminate. We set off to read about Cora's escape in the Underground Railroad, and we are led back to a present day still scarred by slavery's brutal legacy. We set off to read about Elwood's dreams of transcending the injustices of the Jim Crow South, and we're led straight back to this era where systemic racism still robs so many Black Americans of their lives and potential. Wherever else Colson's novels take us, they always lead us right back to our own doorsteps with new understanding and new urgency. It's special, it's timely, and it's a skill that makes him more than worthy of the title Literary Lion. So here he is tonight. Please welcome Colson Whitehead.
Hey, howdy all. Thanks, Melinda, for that very lovely introduction, and thank you to all you lovely supporters of the King County Library System. I know things are a little different this year in every sphere, but I'm glad we could all get together and celebrate this really fine institution. So one of the questions I get asked a lot is, where do I get my ideas for my books? And For the Nickel Boys, I got the idea for the book from a newspaper article. But, in general, I get ideas from all sorts of places, depending on the book. With The Intuitionist, my first novel, I was just sitting on the couch in a depressive stupor, as I often am, and watching TV, as I often do. And there was a piece on Dateline NBC, 10 p.m. Thursday, about the hidden dangers of escalators. And they interviewed a escalator inspector, and he explained how sometimes in old escalators, the tread can get detached from the side. And if you have small feet or tiny toes, you can get caught and something bad can happen. And I thought to myself, oh, that's a weird job, escalator inspector. You don't think about it, but someone has to do it. And from growing up in the city, I started thinking escalator inspector, elevator inspector. At the time, if you lived in New York, the inspection certificates had to be displayed on the wall of the cab. And each time the inspector would come, he would sign his name that everything was okay. And over the years, the same person comes, you're at work, you're at school, and he appears and does his job. If you go to your friend's house, the same person, inspector has been there. And it seemed like they were sort of like policemen with beats, precincts that they patrolled. And I thought, wouldn't it be weird if an elevator inspector had to solve a criminal case? Hardy horror, postmodern detective story. So I went to the library, the Brooklyn Public Library, to see what kind of skills an elevator inspector would bring to a criminal case. And of course, the answer was none, because they inspect elevators. And so the novel became less about a murder mystery and more about an elevator mystery that had to be solved by an elevator inspector. So going to the library sort of shifted the focus of the book and gave me a way forward. So TV, for one novel. What's up? Zone 1, a zombie novel, very different sort of genesis. I got it from a dream. I had very permissive parents, and from a very early age was allowed to see horror movies of all stripes. And I remember I was 10 years old when I saw Night of the Living Dead. And it was PBS, it was Halloween. And, there weren't a lot of movies with black protagonists, so it stayed with me. And if you don't know what the movie's about, a black man is being pursued by a white mob who wants to tear him limb from limb. So it's sort of a metaphor for America. And from then on, I started having zombie dreams once a month for decades. I saw Dawn of the Dead a few years later. That was X-rated for violence. The second movie in Romero's Living Dead trilogy. And, depending on my psychological weather at the time, I would have zombies that were fast, that were slow. They could talk to me. I would escape. I would get caught. And this went on, as I said, for decades and decades until 2009. And I was going through a rough patch. My father had just passed away, and I was going through a divorce, about to. There were some signs that I was about to go through a divorce, such as getting a divorce lawyer. So it was definitely not a time to have guests out for July 4th. But every July 4th, my then wife and I would rent out my aunt's place in Sag Harbor, and we'd have people out there. It's a house that my grandfather built in the 40s. And the walls are very thin. I have to explain that it's a no-sex house when guests come, because you can hear everything. So when they arrive, I'm like, oh, it's going to be great. We're going to have a barbecue. There are fireworks on Saturday, no sex. And that weekend, we still got together, even though, I was going through some life changes. So the second day, I woke up in the morning and I heard my friends downstairs laughing, enjoying themselves, thin walls. And I just thought to myself, I wish they could leave, because I wasn't really up for having guests. And so I willed myself back to sleep, which is a skill I developed over the years. and I had a dream. And in the dream, I wanted to go into the living room, but I didn't know if I could because they hadn't swept the zombies out yet. And I woke up and I thought that's a real, consideration after the apocalypse, when society is getting back to normal. You have all these zombies around. Someone has to get rid of them. And that became the idea for Zone 1. Usually, if you wake up in the middle of the night and have a dream and write down the notes, it's not a good idea. You wake up in the morning and you look down at what you've written and it says, sex with my mother and kill my father. That's like not an idea for a book. Maybe a short story. It's been done before. But this time, I got an idea from her dream, and I was very excited. Underground Railroad, another different sort of origin story. I was sitting on my couch now 21 years ago, and I came across a reference to the Underground Railroad, and remembered how when I was a little kid, the stories were so evocative, those words were so evocative that I thought it was a literal train beneath the earth. And then my teacher explained how it actually worked. Obviously, a literal train is very impractical. We have a subway in New York that's 7 miles of track, and we can barely keep that working. So thousands of miles of track beneath America is a logistical nightmare. But those words were so vivid, I and a lot of other people have this image of a literal train. I remember I was doing a talk in Florida a couple years ago, and a woman in her 60s came up to me before I talked, and she'd read the book, and said, have there been any studies about the cave-ins? And I was like, sorry? And she said, oh yeah, the tunnels must have been so dangerous with all the cave-ins. Has anyone ever studied that? And I was like, what? So it's a testament to how vivid that idea is and how crappy our educational system is. So that afternoon on my couch, it seemed like, wouldn't it be a cool idea if I made a literal train? And that was the story. And there's not much of that's a premise, not much of a real narrative there. So I added the element that each state that our protagonist goes through on this train is a different state of American possibility, like Gulliver's Travels. It's an allegorical journey, like the Odyssey or Pilgrim's Progress, where the character is tested on each leg of the journey, has to solve a problem before he or she can progress. And it seemed like such a good idea for a book that I knew I would screw it up if I tried it back then when I was 30. I didn't think that I was mature enough to write about slavery in the way that it was intended to be, wise enough. I didn't think I was a good enough writer to pull it off. It's very, the structure is very complicated, and I just didn't think that I was up to it at the time. I thought if I wrote more books, I might be able to pull it off, eventually. So I put, the idea in the drawer, and each time I finished the book, I would pull out my notes and ask myself, am I ready? And the answer is always no. Until 2014. And I was working on the book, but I was having some doubts about it. So I decided to tell my wife about this Underground Railroad idea that I've been carrying around for so long. As some of you know, sometimes in a marriage, you have to make conversation to kill the silences. So I asked my wife about this Underground Railroad idea. And she said, honey, I don't want to say that the book you're working on now about a Brooklyn writer going through a midlife crisis is dumb per se. But this Underground Railroad idea sounds, pretty promising. So I was like, huh. So I called my agent, who's really great, and I've worked with her for 25 years now. And she just said, well, Colson, both ideas are good, which was not very helpful. But then she did something she never does, which was email me on a Sunday. And she said, you know, I can't stop thinking about that Underground Railroad idea. And so that was 2 votes. Wednesday was shrink day. So I told my shrink, and she just said, what are you, crazy? I mean, we both know you're crazy, but this idea sounds totally up your alley with all your issues and whatnot. You should go for it. So that was 3 votes. And so I decided to tell my editor. I'd already sold this other book to him. So with some trepidation, I called him up, and he just said, giddy up, motherfucker, which is old school publishing lingo for that sounds very compelling and we should do it. And I was off. And, you know, I had still some more trepidation about writing the book, but I realized that even though, you know, 20 years into my career, probably the book you're avoiding is the one you should do. The book that scares you a lot is maybe the one that you should pick up. And that meant doing the research, of course. With Underground Railroad, libraries provided a lot of the research for me. In the last couple of years, libraries have switched to a lot of digital services. And with the pandemic, anything they can put online has become even more vital. And I definitely feel, as someone who doesn't like to leave the house because there's, what's the word? So many people out there, that anything I can do from the comfort of my home is a real bonus. And so libraries with the Underground Railroad, and since then, have been great for me in terms of getting access to primary documents, especially in terms of stuff that's in the public domain. With the Underground Railroad, there are a lot of slave narratives by Harriet Jacobs, Frederick Douglass, and I'd read them in college. They stayed with me, and they provide a lot of the sort of background for the main characters on the Underground Railroad. In the 1930s, the Work Progress Administration, during the Great Depression, was trying to get writers back to work, and so they hired them to interview former slaves, people who were, you know, kids and teens at the time of slavery, still alive, and they interviewed them to get their stories before they passed on. And it's just a great resource, and your tax dollars, you know, have paid for it. You can dial up to the Library of Congress and take a peek. Some of them are 10 pages long, some are a page long, some are 2 paragraphs. But for a fiction writer, they're a great resource because they provide those first-person accounts, provide the nouns and the verbs and adjectives that really make a novel live. Stuff that wouldn't go into a history book. You know, the concerns of a historian are different than the concerns of a novelist. But I want to know, what did they eat? What did they wear? In 1850, did they say buggy or wagon? Turns out buggy. So my excursions into the digital libraries became, you know, the heart of the book. If you've read the book, you know that I insert a lot of runaway slave ads. Your slave runs away on Underground Railroad, or by other means, you place an ad in a newspaper saying, so-and-so is 30 years old, has a mark on their eye, a sour disposition, I wonder why. And the University of North Carolina has digitized thousands and thousands of runaway slave ads. So I can just dip in, find ones for male slaves or female slaves. And since, frankly, copyright law being what it is, I could just stick them in the book and no one's going to sue me. So thank you, University of North Carolina. Nickel Boys, my most recent book, came, as I said, from a newspaper article. The Florida School for Boys was a reform school for young lads that opened on January 1st, 1900. It was New Year's Day, the start of a new century, with all the optimism that entails. And the idea was a good one. How do we keep young offenders from becoming habitual offenders? We don't want to lock them up with hardened criminals. What if we gave them their own institution where they could learn a trade one day, go to school the next day. When they come out, they can rejoin society. So the idea was good, but whenever you get humans involved, things go wrong pretty quickly. Terrible stories came out even just a few years into its existence. Stories of kids as young as 6 being chained up to radiators, put in solitary confinement. And over the decades, there'd be investigations, newspaper investigations, state investigations, and there'd be talk of reform. And each time the talk would die out and the abuses would return. They would stop using solitary confinement for young kids and then it would start again. They would close the sweat boxes, the steel cages where they put kids for attitude adjustment to bake in the sun. And they'd stop using them, they would come back. They would outlaw corporal punishment, which meant moving the beatings to a white utility shed called the White House. And that happened decade by decade. Stories, exposés, talk of reform, nothing would happen until 2011, when finally they closed the school. So 111 years of stories and nothing happened until a few years ago. I first heard about the Florida School for Boys, now renamed the Arthur G. Dozier School for Boys, in 2014. It was a rough summer. Michael Brown was killed by a white policeman in Ferguson, Missouri. Eric Garner was choked to death by a white policeman in Staten Island. There were protests, it seemed for days on end. And with the rise of cell phones, we were now capturing all these different abuses that have been going on around us, unseen. And they weren't capturing a spike in incidents, they were recording the standard level of abuse, the same way that a new telescope doesn't discover new stars in the far out reaches of space. It just reveals the ones that have always been there. And so cell phones were revealing the true state of police brutality in America. And of course, in 2021, here we are again. Last summer was a sort of revisiting of the same issues as 2014. And we'll see what happens to the people who killed George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and Elijah McClain. Usually, despite the evidence, no one's ever held accountable. And that made me think about the Dozier School. For 100 years, the Dozier School was in the business of mangling young lives, and the perpetrators went unpunished. They retired, lived long, happy lives, and in some cases received Citizen of the Year awards from their communities. Most of the White House boys who came forward in those news accounts I read in 2014 were white, but the majority of the school was African American, and I started to think about what kind of story I could get out of the Black part of the campus. And I was also struck by the fact that it wasn't bigger news. If something's happening in one place, it's happening in other places as well. I'm going back to the example of cell phones and police brutality. If there's one Dozier School for Boys, there must be dozens of reform schools where the same abuses are unfolding. Maybe it's not a reform school, but an orphanage or a home for unwed mothers in Ireland. When I was traveling with the book, I would hear stories about similar institutions in different countries. Maybe it's a residential school in Canada where Indigenous children are taken from their families to be educated in white culture. And the same terrible things that happened at Dozier happen there. Or maybe it's a for-profit incarceration camp on our southern border where refugee children sleep in cages. It's any place where a culture of impunity reigns and destroys and ruins. So with the Nickel Boys, I had a place. I needed characters. Sometimes a fragment of my personality enters into my novels, finds its way into my characters, sometimes not. Cora, the protagonist of The Underground Railroad, has the least amount of me in her, which is probably why that's my most popular book. Nothing wrong with that, just couldn't help but notice. To create the two heroes for the Nickel Boys, I drew upon my own internal dilemma. The last couple of years, as we all know, have been a time of a great division in America. These divisions and disputes have always been there, but sometimes a personality, for example, can bring them closer to the surface, exploit them for personal gain. The world is often quite terrible, and I like to think that things are getting better, if only for my children, the same way that my parents and grandparents had to hope that the world would become a better place for their kids, despite all the evidence they saw every day, despite the prejudice and discrimination that they experienced every day. They had the hope that their offspring would grow up in a better world. We make progress and take 2 steps back. So I was definitely wrestling with those issues in the spring of 2017 when I decided to work on the Nickel Boys. And I picked 2 young protagonists that spoke to different parts of my personality. The hopeful side of my personality, and the more pragmatic or realistic or pessimistic side. For Elwood, one of the boys in my book, the Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. provides a model of engagement with the dark forces of the world. If you stand up, if you fight for justice, you can remake the world. And Turner, the other main character, on the other hand, has survived by seeing the world as it actually is, not as we want it to be. So the staff and administration of the Nickel Boys become stand-ins for all the malevolent forces in the world that grind us down. And when Elwood and Turner meet, the debate about how to live and exist begins. And for me, that's the heart of the book, the war between those 2 philosophies. I'm back to work again on a new book set in Harlem in the 70s and 80s and 60s. And I'm back to library, which for me means the Arthur Schomburg collection uptown, the famous repository and archive of Black literature. Once again, the libraries are sustaining me, and I hope you can help sustain them by supporting them tonight. So thanks for listening to me. It's an honor again to be with all these literary lions, and again, hope to see you in person next time.
Wow, wasn't that fabulous? So amazing to hear directly from Colson about his process and his heart and what he's working on next. And by the way, we owe Colson a congratulations. We learned this week that he's the only person to ever win Pulitzer Prizes for 2 consecutive works of fiction. So an amazing accomplishment. Okay, so we have one more game, one more Guess the Book game. So let's do it. Here's the deal. The prize for this one, actually, let me just recap how this is going to go. We're going to show you the 3 emojis. You guess the book in the chat. It is one of our Literary Lions books. This last prize is Modernist Cuisine, The Art and Science of Cooking by Nathan Myhrvold, Chris Young, and Maxime Bellet. Now, if you know, you know. It is an award-winning 2,438-page book that broke the rules, really, for what a cookbook can be. So get your typing fingers ready. This is the last one. If you know what book title is represented by these emojis, put your answer in the chat. So we have a plane, we have something that represents time, an arrow. Okay, I see a bunch of people going in. Let's see who wins. Give it a few more seconds so our person can find who the winner is in the chat. We've got the arrow, the plane, time, and it is The Moment of Lift by Melinda Gates. So congratulations to our winner. And don't forget, we do have 3 finalists being tallied and added up by our backstage team. So in just a minute, we'll pull the winner of the Alaska Airlines tickets. In the meantime, we want to take one last look at our giving thermometer. It just kept going up during Colson's speech. We're now just a little over $400,000. And remember I told you about that match. It was a challenge of 40 gifts of $1,000. If we can get 40 people to do that, the money doubles to $80,000. Well, so far, we've had 31 people take advantage of that. So we just need 9 more people to come in at $1,000. But I think in a moment, we're at least going to add the money that we have from those donations to the thermometer to see where that takes us. So we'll be doing that in just a moment. Meanwhile, I just want to say thank you to Thrift Books and our anonymous donor for offering this challenge. And look, it takes us up to $441,000. Thank you so much to all of you who are participating in this challenge. Again, it's not too late. You can still do so. Spread the word. We will accept gifts through next Thursday, when we know many of you will ask your company for matching money. I think I was at King 5 for a couple years before I even knew that they did a match. So if you don't know, just ask. You never know. Thank you in advance for helping us out with that and spreading the word. I love seeing that thermometer go up. Okay, so I think it's time for us to do our grand prize. Is it time for us to do the grand prize? Yay! Okay, this is the big one. We've been collecting 3 finalists with each Guess the Book game. So I think we should have about 12 people by now for this. We've compiled them all, and the winner is going to take home 2 round-trip tickets anywhere Alaska Airlines flies. And that's exciting, because if you haven't been anywhere, I'm sure as people get vaccinated, you'll want to go somewhere. And honestly, no one is doing airline safety better than our hometown friends in Alaska. So you can feel good about it. Okay, 12 entries. I have 12 numbers in a bowl that I'm going to grab. I'm going to pull the number, and then someone backstage will associate the number with the person, one of the finalists. Mix them up nice and good. Okay, got to add a little drama to it, Ken. Okay, the winner is number 10. Okay, so what does that mean? I'm going to get this typed on the screen to see who number 10 is. I see it is, it's Jenna Wilson. Congratulations, Jenna. You're going somewhere in Alaska Airlines. You get 2 tickets. Wow, thank you to Alaska Airlines for this gift, and congratulations, Jenna. We cannot wait to hear where you go, and thank you for participating in the game. It was a lot of fun to see everyone chiming in on the chat. Before we close this evening, we do have one exciting announcement to make, and this is really exciting, okay? To make that announcement, who better than the author himself, or maybe it's the assistant to the author himself. Okay, that doesn't sound right. So who could it be? Let's find out.
Hi there, it's me, Rainn Wilson, and please, please forgive my quarantine hair. Listen, a lot of you might know me as Dwight Schrute from The Office, but what you may not know is that I'm also the author of 2 books, soon to be 3, fingers crossed. As a native Washingtonian, Seattleite, former patron of the King County Library System, I am proud to deliver the keynote presentation at the 2022 Literary Lions Gala on March 5th. That's 2022. It's a little while from now, to raise money for literacy, learning, and libraries. I hope to see you all there, and I promise that I will wash and comb my hair for the event.
Thank you, Rainn. We're so excited to have you as our 2022 Literary Lions keynote speaker. What a treat that'll be for all of your fans here, including me. So for everyone, put it on your calendar, March 5th, 2022. To stay in touch with us, so you get all the news about next year's gala and our other events, please follow the King County Library System Foundation on Facebook or Twitter. If social media isn't your thing, join our newsletter by clicking the button on our website. As you saw earlier, we are getting close to our goal of raising $500,000 to fund literacy learning and libraries. If you made or plan to make a donation to our foundation, I just want to give you our heartfelt thank you. It's wonderful when we appreciate your generosity. The paddle raise will be open until Thursday evening, so you have plenty of time to share this link with others. And if you work for a company with a gift matching program, please submit the match to help us reach our goal. Last, don't forget to buy books from our esteemed Literary Lion authors by going to Third Place Books in the chat. Before we bring the 2021 Literary Lions Gala to a close, I want to say a heartfelt thanks to everyone who made tonight a success. The Literary Lion authors, our amazing sponsors, our wonderful gala committee and volunteers, the foundation board and KCLS trustees, and our fabulous KCLS Foundation staff and donors like you. And of course, join me in thanking the amazing Angela Poe Russell for hosting us tonight.
It was such an honor, and it's been inspiring, honestly. So thank you for having me. What do you think of your first virtual gala?
It was wonderful. Let's do it again.
Yeah, it wasn't what we planned, but we
Right.
did it, and we had a good time and raised some money. So that's awesome.
Thank you very much.
All right. Have a great night.
Good night, everyone.